This week we're going to be looking at beliefs. This is a really powerful area to focus the clearing on. So it's commonly held in personal development that your beliefs create your reality. And it's also said that a belief is just a feeling of certainty that something is true. So what happens is we form beliefs as we grow up based on our environment, based on our conditioning. We back them up with emotions. So when something is demonstrated to be true over and over again, we start to anchor feelings to that. We might decide that we don't deserve to be rewarded. And then we might anchor some shame and some fear and some vulnerability to that belief. And it's very hard to change just by telling us something different. I'm sure you've all tried this. It's sort of the cliche of looking in the mirror and going, I'm beautiful, I am beautiful. But if you don't feel it, if you feel ashamed, if you have strong anchors to the belief that you're in fact ugly and disgusting, saying I'm beautiful only serves to trigger the belief that you aren't and make you feel pretty awful. So what we're going to learn how to do this week is to clear the emotions that support the belief. What this gives you is the ability to retrain how you think really easily. It means you can reframe your thoughts, redesign how you perceive the world, and it makes it a lot easier to go create the kind of things you want. So what I'm going to show you now is what I call a quadrant clear. It's a really good visual way to represent the associations we've made. So when we're growing up, perhaps we have an experience that we don't even remember, like mum and dad could be arguing in the kitchen over the phone bill. Now, we might think nothing particularly about that, but our unconscious mind makes a decision. So it might decide something like, oh, money and love don't go together, because whenever mum and dad talk about money, they're not very loving. And whenever they're being loving, they're not talking about money. So obviously, I can either have money or love. We make hundreds of those splits in our lives. You can see why it's so difficult for us to have all the things we want at once, because typically those things contradict. So people have beliefs like I can be an artist, or I can get well paid, or I can have great sex, or I can be with someone who cares about me. Many of those we've picked up, and we have to fight and try really hard to pull things together that we think are contradictory. This clear I'm about to show you right now, which is called the quadrant clear, is a simple but powerful way of separating things that we think are associated so we can be more free to create whatever we want. So how do we know how to use this quadrant clear? Well, basically, anytime we feel like we're in an either-or situation, I could do what I love or I could get paid for it. I could have a happy family or I could have a successful career. Whenever we have one of those splits that tells us either this or that, we know there's a belief there that says we have to choose. I'm here to tell you that we always can find a way to have both. You can have a successful career and a happy family. You can make money doing what you love, but the first step is getting to a place where you believe that's possible. Otherwise, you're not even going to look for it. So I'm going to draw up the most common, or one of the most common limiting beliefs we have, which is we can have either money or love. I call this a quadrant clear because the visual representation of that belief is split into 4 different quadrants. So you notice that we have a picture of money without love. We have a picture of love without money. We have a picture of no money and no love. And then finally, we have a picture of money and love together. What we're going to do is simply look at those, say what it represents out loud, and test with our fingers to see if we're congruent. So firstly, I would say, I'm okay with having money but not love. It seems that I am okay with that right now. Then I'm going to say, I'm okay with having love but not money. And I'm not okay with that. I quickly file through the 5-element chart: fire, earth, metal, water, wood, gallbladder, liver, anger, rage, fury, frustration. So for me to be stuck in that situation, or at least in the belief of that situation, is frustrating. I'm going to clear that by holding the ESR points, taking a deep breath. And when I come back to it, I'm okay with having love but not money. That's now fine. I'm going to go to the really depressing quadrant. I'm okay with not having money and not having love, and that's fine right now. And then I'm going to come to the quadrant that is probably most challenging, and the reason we're doing this clear in the first place, which is I'm okay with having money and having love. That's clear for me right now, but I've done a bunch of this, so I've run these kind of quadrants repeatedly. So what I'd like you to try right now is doing this quadrant for yourself, working through each one, testing to make sure you're clear on each of those 4 possibilities. I'm going to give you a hint. Any belief can only really have 4 possible dimensions to it. A with B, A without B, B without A, and neither A nor B. It's kind of like an equation. If we're clear on all 4 possibilities, it means we can move forward through life and have what we want. It means we're not going to freak out if we have one of these components missing. We can even handle having neither, hopefully temporarily. Hopefully you're going to get some money and get some love, but you don't freak out when it looks like you've got neither. And it means you can be in that quadrant that has both of those two things together, which for many people is an impossibility because their beliefs have taught them, well, it's either money or love. Which do you choose? Like I said, I'm here to teach you that you can have both. You can always have both if you know how to ask the right questions, if you know how to clear the emotional blocks, and if you know how to start thinking differently. So your homework this week is pretty simple and pretty cool. I want you to write down a whole list, like 10 different things that you think you can't have together. Might be success and money, might be love and money, might be love and sex, might be believing in God and having sex. It doesn't matter what it is. Just find all the things, or at least a long list of things that you think are contradictory, and I want you to map them out in a quadrant situation like this. Once again, I'll go over it with you. It's having one thing but not the other thing but not the one thing, neither of those things, and then both of those things together. So it's either or, neither, both. That's how I think of it. Map that out, look at them visually, name it, do the muscle test with the fingers, clear any emotions that come up by holding the ESR points, then come back and check. What I want you to do when you finish for extra credit points and to really help your neurology settle into this is imagine those two things together. So those two pictures, for example, money and love, I can imagine myself with my partner, surrounded by my friends and family, with a big wad of cash in one hand, living in a beautiful house, and it feels good, it feels congruent. I haven't got something in my brain going, that's impossible. If you're getting that sort of thing coming up, I would look deeper, find something else. That's it for this week. Practice it. If you get the quadrant clear down, you're going to open up a lot of new potential in your life. Please, as always, share your experiences in the Facebook group, and we'll see you next week.